More desperate jihad videos. The sooner I bring my testimony to the world, the sooner the world will let me die. Because at the moment I'm immortal. I've seen my torn flesh heal before my eyes and I don't die. And it's the condition of Elijah. I wouldn't die either and could bring people back to life. I've done that before. I saved a girl. Resuscitated because I cried for her. And she got brought back to life. She crashed her car. She had a pumpkin head. Not many people could witness these things. It's like Elijah was failed and destroyed and just tormented an angel. He was told to do 3 things, to go forth, and he delivered his mantle onto Elisha. He delivered his teachings in another place, and miracles were witnessed about him in the 3rd place. And this is very similar to what happens with Jesus and John the Baptist. John the Baptist was destroyed, overrun in a condition of apocalypse. Jesus saved his mantle, took it, and taught the people, because he knew how to properly teach it people, because he had a great education. And they witnessed miracles about him, and he saw the sign of Elisha through Jesus, who didn't die, who got crucified. And this is a very important thing about Christianity that I really want everyone to understand is Jesus got crucified. All his blood was completely drained from his body. 3 days later, he got up and walked around the place. Like, people don't appreciate the absolute miracle that was witnessed in that. And people were terrified. People were like freaked out, and people were completely weirded because he got up and walked around the place again, and they saw the scars on his thing. He healed like my flesh had healed and left scars behind it. And it was that witness, it was that final, just like, okay, like finally there's a Roman censor that says clearly this was a great man of some sort, and we're after going and crucifying him. So you got it wrong, and you were meant to learn that. And John the Baptist explained, or not John the Baptist, John the Divine explains this when the monster devours the witnesses. 2 witnesses come forward through Elijah and Moses, and they witness, and you saw Jesus talking with Elijah and Moses on the mountain, and that prophecy was fulfilled where he was devoured. He was devoured for 3 days. The world nearly fell apart again, but because he was a good Lord, he was placed at the hand of the Lord. Because he was Christian, actually, he was placed at the hand of the Lord, and he saved the entire world from absolute destruction. We see this happening at the very beginning of the Bible as well. Moses, the very beginning of the Bible, is like 400 years into an apocalypse. And I keep saying this word apocalypse. Apocalypse is when a temple is overrun, and as we see, Jesus found merchants in his temple, and it was just paintings of this, and they were masturbating in the temple and ablating in the temple, and angels were taking women aside in the temple and having sex with them. And you see in the background the old wise men are disappearing from the temple, and it's a big mess about the temple. So an apocalypse is when a star is born, and it gets taken away by rich, powerful people, crows. And they, like I made in the AOKology video, as explaining stabilities of a temple or a community. So the crows get it, and we see at the very beginning of the Bible, 400 years into an apocalypse. So there's 7 seals, and we clearly see, once a seal is broken, it can't be resealed. We clearly see that the first 4 horses, which are conquest of holy people, because holy people will stand out at some point in time. The water will come down and holy people stand out. People with stars will stand out. They'll be conquested upon by the rest of the world. They'll be devoured and destroyed and burnt up and torched. And then there'll be instability within all nations, because you destroyed the starry people, the important people, and they were keeping all stability in the nations. When that falls down, you'll have it up to here. And then soon enough you'll have it up there, and your chronology will fail, and you'll see all your ships failing at sea, and all the things are backing up, and all that kind of crap's going to happen. And then that's the famine period. And you've already witnessed the death horse flashes in and out, because famine was the COVID was just a demonstration of instant death on earth, and plague is just death, described as death. So we see at the very beginning of the Bible that we're 400 years into a disorder, into an apocalypse. And as far as I understand it, I'm not 100% sure this, but I think it's the apocalypse of Jacob. I think it's Jacob's apocalypse, which started ever since Joseph was put down the well by his brothers, his stepbrothers, excuse me. And we don't see them all coming back together again until we see the Levite of John the Baptist meeting up with the Josephian line in Jesus, and they love each other greatly. And then there's a resolve of the temple. There's a resolve, and they took power over the chronology. At the beginning of the beginning is the end, the end is the beginning. We see Moses coming up, and he's trying to take power of the stability. He's trying to take power back of the temple. He was a Levite as well. He was trying to take power back over the temple, because it was 400 years into instability, and there were really powerful people who were practicing in the temple. They had lots of magic. They had lots of women and prophets, and They were very influential and everyone thought they were amazing. And then you had people who were apparently lepers, the actual diaspora of the star, the actual diaspora, and they were called the Hebrews, and they were enslaved because they weren't able to come into trade, into an exchange with one another, so they were reduced to leprosy and slavery. And we see this again in Revelations. Revelations is a key that you can hold up. You don't need to really study much of the Bible, actually, sadly enough, but you can really understand where people were, what orientation they were, and what part of an apocalypse that they were in, because the Bible, it turns out, is just a history of apocalypse, falling in and out of apocalypse and maintaining order and resolve. So I think it was the apocalypse of Jacob we see 400 years into. Everyone's been persecuted, dominated by a pharaoh with lots of magical powers. Moses goes into the temple, and like the stability symbol, the peace symbol with the tree, because someone got killed, someone got replaced, and then there's the branch of, like, God knows, like the line of people that are reborn to fulfill the fucking stability, the return of the king, you know, the Orestes, Luke Skywalker, they're all fucking same. So he comes in and he challenges the three heads with his one head, with his rod. So they put down their rods or their serpents, and his one devours them. We see this with Elijah challenging the gods of Baal, and that's a Babylonian kind of thing. The gods of Baal were pagan introductions which got mixed up in Babylon. Babylon is a temple that's overrun, and a temple that's been taken and exploited by powerful people, taken from some hippie kid that knows a lot, that's tormented, bewildered, really messy hair on him. You know, people call him a madman. You'll see him in the forest eating locust and honey, despite being vegan. He likes a bit of honey. And they use his power. He's the beast, the east, house of the east, house of the sun, house of the rising sun. He's Jesus, the beast. I know it sounds beast is not a nice word, but just think of the sun, the rising sun, the sun god. He was like Krishna, Tiferethian. So they take the sun kid power, and they reign and dominate. Rockefellers are doing this, Miami are doing this to me, French royalty, Swiss bankers, New York, the city, fucking ziggurats. They're massive big towers these days. And they're hiding in space even. They champion scarlet women. I actually championed about 17 of them through my history from knowing people. They're devouring star children constantly and breeding star children out of these. It's complete apocalypse. Like, you know, it's just absolute blatant revelation. And that's what revelation is. Revelation means apocalypse. Apocalypse is when the temple is disordered, when things go bad, basically, you can see where things need to go good. No one would be complaining if everything was going well. So if it's not in a situation of apocalypse, nothing is revealed and people become oblivious and forget. We've had 2,000 years of potential Christianity, and people have forgotten, become oblivious, because there's been no revelation. There's been no disorder in that temple, because he couldn't touch Jesus. He was made Lord. He was ascended up into heaven, and he was untouchable to all of you. And you see this in John the Baptist. It's like, come, I'll show you where Jesus' wife was. And we had to hide her from the world because they put the name of every abomination on her, and they turned her into a scarlet woman, and she was championed by 7 nations who are all monster, tyrannical beasts. And that's happening, you know, to me at the moment. I wanted to talk more about Moses, but I can't really explain why. Moses and Elisha are very similar to each other as well, because they both performed the same miracle of parting waters. And Moses' son Enoch, as far as I'm aware, also was brought up into heaven. He didn't die like Elijah and like Jesus, his son Enoch. So because there's been no revelation, there's been no miracles in the world, and there's been very little witnessing in the world, up until the mad shit started happening around me. On one morning, I was allowed to go home there last March, and I think it's going to happen again this March, and I might be allowed to go home approaching Easter. And I was just told and hurried myself to prepare a bag, and I did. And I gave a mantle to a loved one of mine without knowing or reading this at the time. And then I went out to a field and I was being chased really lots. It was a really crazy day. There was birds killing themselves in front of me as I walked. Birds were just dropping out of the sky and killing themselves in front of me. And there's loads of kids there. and I was teaching them. I started teaching them loads of stuff, and they all vanished and disappeared. They're all dancing and moving really weird. And then a guard showed up and shot me in the face. Shot me square in the face. Some weird old community guard showed up and shot me in the face with a gun that he placed in my bag, and they asked me about it later. I wanted to know why there was a gun in my bag. A bullet didn't come out of the gun. Burning hot copper acid, they called it, which felt like the piss and vinegar of the entire world, got sprayed in my face. And if I left the field, I would die, and I had to remain. It's like a Squid Game. A lot of that happening, and a lot to do with perception and things coming in and out of perception, and all going on. I don't really know why I made this video. I mentioned in a later video that Easter's coming up, and I was anticipating it, and I was looking forward to finding an Alicia, because my temple is so overrun. I'm like John the Baptist, and I could go out and turn people golden on the streets, as I potentially can. But Jesus was the hero, and he just kind of stepped in. He was the lion that the lamb needed, and he stepped in, and he took control of shit, because he needed a hero. Every day, I think 2 more people get connected to me in this ever-extending and ever-spreading Babylonian bushfire. And they took it, and they burned other cities down with it as well. This Babylon thing. They see this inspector, the James Bond film, as, oh, so we know what you're doing. You're burning cities down from within with Babylon, and you're selling them the care plan. You're leading them government through what's happening, and they're frightened, weird, and don't know what's going on. That's why I got so many politicians having sex with my star children in my head all day, all night, constantly just waking up stinking of orgies. And traveller children, Sinn Féin gypsies, militia, all hunting and wanking over me and my very important mother. So yes, look, I need an Alicia, I need a Jesus, I need a hero, because the thing is, in Revelations it says the 2 witnesses, it's really not 2 witnesses, but Elijah and Moses will be with someone, and this one person, it is described as one person at one point. You'll all hate him. You're like, yeah, I'll hate me. Like, I'm a nice person. I'm a really cool person to get on with. I'm not a bad person. But yeah, they all hate me. They absolutely hate me. They're waging complete and utter constant war with me, and me against them. And it turns out that everything that I say and scream, or if I'm angry, like, it has a really bad effect on the world. And I used to be a very calm and pleasant and patient and merciful person. And things like, I was coming off of heroin, and as I was being tormented, they flooded my orrery, which is my star, sorry, and with millions of people I heard, it was an absolute fucking feeling frenzy, and I was slapping myself to bits on the couch, skying and screaming how much I hated all humanity, and like COVID happened around that time, you should know. So, but when I love someone, they turn golden. That's what I'm saying. Like, when I hate everyone nowadays, and I'm a misanthropist these days, and I can say, oh, but look at my face, I look like shit. But when I love people, they turn very special, and I think they turn very immortal as well, and they can be protected in a way that Jesus was immortalized through John the Baptist. He took his blessing, and then Jesus was, he couldn't kill him. He tried to crucify him because John loved Jesus, and particularly because Jesus championed John's temple, which was destroyed and ruined and being shared. So yeah, you need a champion to get in there. So, and it's got to be someone powerful. It's got to be like Arnold Schwarzenegger, who's like a senator or president, who can just step in and say, leave him alone, and publicly say to the world, leave him alone. Because there's so many Dutch royalty, Danish royalty, Swiss royalty, not royalty in Swiss, but they're gypsies, absolute sadist gypsies. Swiss people, not to go out the ball, they like dressing your children up as rubber bunnies, as little sex toys, and using them and having sex with them as stars, but they dress them up as like PVC little rubber bunnies. They look very much like the kind of children that you see in the Rammstein video, where like, all of our children are now rubber bunnies, being led by Swiss accountants, and then they find 2 new kids and they're trying to hide them from the Swiss people because they're trying to turn them into sex dolls. Horrible sadists in Switzerland, whatever they get them up to in their fucking mountains. Yeah, but he left them in charge of the fucking world after World War II. Anyway, so yeah, John the Baptist needs a hero, champion the temple. I reckon if I got 2 good men together, out of all of them, there hasn't been one, but if I got 2, Jesus had 12, and those 12 were like gambling kind of fishermen, they weren't great. The people that witnessed Jesus' miracles, but he was just fearless and rolled with it. I think I had a lot of gangster gypsies witness the stuff to do with me, but I don't know, maybe I was just fussy or something like that and wanted nothing to fucking to work with psychopaths and horrible people. I'm not really Jesus. Jesus was a vindicator of mercy, the house of mercy, and I'm more vindicator of the house of understanding, which reigns over the crow. So I ain't Jesus, and I don't forgive what they do. Yeah, really, the funny thing about killing the merciful king, nailing the merciful king, was that you had a lot of mercy nailed then, didn't you? And then people, I don't want to get into that, but yeah, kill an angry dude, then you don't have a good lord, you got an angry lord, and that's where Satanism comes from. So yeah, I don't know, hopefully I can die at some stage, and hopefully for your sake I'm at peace with the world.